everybody, Psychic Medium Karyn Reece here, and I thought I would share a little bit about me. I know everybody thinks of me as a psychic medium, but there are some things about me that you may or may not know. Right from the beginning, I'm a born psychic medium, and this is something that runs on my mom's side of the family. You see, my mom and many of her family members are also psychic mediums. Flip side, my dad's side, Mensa members, science and math. So I grew up in a very strange household. But I can tell you, I appreciate both sides, both the left and the right brain, or all of the above. For me personally, since I can remember, my earliest recollection of seeing dead people was when I was 2 years old, standing in my crib, and this woman by the name of Margaret used to visit me along with other spirit people. At the same time, I often would know things like maybe there would be like a train crash, and the next day there would be a train crash. Now, it didn't help having a mom that would say, oh, you know, I saw 3 monks today, or, you know, so-and-so is going to come into town unexpectedly and visit, or, you know, there's going to be a problem with whatever, and her predictions and her ability to see dead people, well, that was just sort of normal. I thought it was normal. Why wouldn't I? And so, you know, as time went on, you know, that would just be the normal thing. I'd go shopping with her, maybe grocery shopping, and maybe I would see somebody's spirit husband following them. Of course, they could see me and they would smile, and I would sometimes giggle at the detriment of their wife sort of looking at me like, who's this kid and why is she giggling? So in any event, but that was just a normal thing until the age of 7, when I had this vision. I would go to sleep, this dream, and I would wake up and still have this vision in 2nd grade. And the vision was of my father passing away. You see, I would see him laid out in a blue casket. This went on for 3 weeks. I couldn't escape it. I'd go to bed, I'd wake up, I'd be in school, the same vision over and over and over, until one day my father did pass away, totally unexpected. It was at that time that my grandmother, who was also a psychic medium, explained to me that that was just God's way of preparing me. It was also at that time that I started to understand what auras were. Her aura was fascinating. It was gold, it was sparkly, I could see little stars in it. And often I would see that with people, random people, whether it was a rainbow or whatever color. And I started to understand that these were energies and these were frequencies and how they related to people. I remember in 8th grade, I was in history, or maybe it was 9th grade. I think it was 9th grade. And this young gentleman's father had just died. I'll never forget the teacher calling on me. Meanwhile, his father was standing next to me. His father had been gone for 2 weeks, and his father was trying to get my attention to talk to his son. Talk about awkward teenage moments, right? Because at that time, I really didn't know how to manage these dead people that would bother me. So in any event, the teacher called on me, and I blurted out how this person's father had just died. Everybody looked at me. I was mortified. I thought, oh my God. And that was my first public channeling experience. That was really awkward. And at that time growing up, it wasn't really talked about, you know, as much as it is today. It wasn't really that acceptable. Everything was sort of quiet. Nowadays, at least people are at least more open to this type of thing. So in any event, fast forward again, I'm in 11th grade, Mrs. Robinson's class, loved this woman, learned a lot from her, and one of the things we did Black History Month, which was super cool and interesting, and then she taught a lot about the stock market, and I thought, that's interesting. At that time, I thought, well, maybe I'll be a plastic surgeon, maybe a lawyer, maybe I'll go into communications, but I really love science. That would be my father's side, but I was also artistically gifted drawing portraits. That would be my mom's side. In any event, I remember studying the stock market, and I had this vision that I would be a stockbroker. A couple years later, I'm in college. I'm in laboratory class, I'm getting up early, I'm waitressing my way through school, I'm really tired. I thought, okay, maybe plastic surgeon or something like that, taking some art classes. And then one day I saw an advertisement to become a stockbroker. So I thought, well, I might as well go down, become a stockbroker, whatever. I knew nothing about it. Got all the information, ended up taking the exam, boom. What ended up happening? I became the youngest female stockbroker. So I ended up switching my schooling from science and art and to business. And so I was the youngest female stockbroker at the age of 19 in Buffalo, New York, which I think is pretty cool. I learned a lot. I learned how to cold call, but also from that experience, I also learned how to use my psychic abilities when it comes to picking stock, and then verifying that with, you know, some of the technical and fundamentals. So it's a win-win type of situation. In fact, sometimes I could see things ahead of time, great stock picks, which I use for my own portfolio. And I do use a lot of my intuition or my psychic abilities with certain clients. I've had experiences where I've met people and I swear to God they're angels on earth. And people don't realize, I think God sometimes will send people our way to test us. And one of the things I've done often throughout my life, I might be out having dinner and notice somebody and I could just tune in and feel like maybe they're alone, maybe they're a senior citizen, whatever. But I've gone ahead and I've bought breakfast and lunches and dinners, and oftentimes I'll tell the waitress, just don't tell the person, who purchased, their meal, or don't tell them I purchased it. One time in particular though, and again, this tells me that the universe will test us, or God will test us. I was sitting with my back against a wall, and this other woman, she was an older woman, she was sitting across the aisle in this other booth, and she was probably about 80, beautiful lady. I said hello, whatever, and I said to the waitress when she came over, I said, I want to buy that woman's, breakfast over there. She's quite lovely. Just don't tell her it's me. So anyways, I'm eating and getting ready to go, and I saw her, and then I saw her again, and all of a sudden I noticed she had disappeared, and I thought, that's really interesting. So I said to the waitress, I said, what happened to this woman? And she looked up, she goes, well, I really don't know. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense. Did you at least, put her bill on my bill or whatever? She goes, yeah. And she says, I went to tell her that that someone had purchased her breakfast, and she said she was gone. Later, I looked and I realized that was probably an angel on earth where God was testing generosity, compassion, what have you. So just a little something that I've done along the way. Now, another funny factoid about me is I don't cook. Some people know that. I believe in the 4 food groups, canned, frozen, takeout, and reservations. So I'm not a big fan of cooking, but I do love to watch the cooking shows. I do get inspired for about 5 minutes, and then I realize it's just not my wheelhouse. Unfortunately, I should have learned from my grandmother, who did try to teach me. She would make the best pizzelles, the best gnocchi. She made this incredible sauce. My grandma Mary was an amazing cook, and she did try to teach me, but that again wasn't my wheelhouse. But I do miss her cooking, although sometimes I do ask her for assistance. Try to channel grandma's good cooking recipes. Another thing about me is I'm a big fan of animals. I truly believe that they're angels on earth and that it's up to us to protect them, whether it's a hamster or a dog or a cat or a horse. I mean, really, it's up to us. As much as they're angels to us, we need to be angels to them. And I always say, test on criminals, not on animals. Besides, criminals can actually redeem themselves, put back to what they've taken out, and it actually does a lot for all of us. So that's one of my pet peeves. So big on animals, and hopefully everybody out there feels the same as I do. Another funny thing is I love to just, on a whim, take off, go for a drive. And I find when I'm driving, I really get some interesting insights. I can drive anywhere, cities, country, doesn't matter. I'm not afraid to drive. So that is one thing that really relaxes my mind. I love to read. I love art museums. I love science museums. I love to meet new people, new cultures, love to travel. So those are some other things. I love to sketch, love to listen to audible reading selections, love all of that, love the arts, love to always find something new. And by the way, I have my own tools. Yes, call me Karen Carpenter. Because I'm artistic, I love carpentry. I've got the best drill. I say a drill and a thrill. It's a Bosch, and it's a small one, so it's great for ladies out there. If you need to get a good drill, check out the Bosch. There's a small one. The drills that they typically make are a little too heavy, at least for my wrist and my hands. So just FYI in that. One thing I don't like to do, now that I think about it, I should probably mention this, is I don't like elevators. I'm very claustrophobic. And given what I do for a living, sometimes I throw lights off and I screw up electrical things, so you'll never catch me in an elevator. In fact, when I go to places like New York City and I have to go way up into a hotel, I like to think of it as a workout. It can be strenuous, so usually I have, the bellhop take my bags up, and then I'll chug up 25 flights of stairs. So I've done that numerous times, by the way, but it helps to keep my girlish figure. And then coming down, although coming down is easier, so I'll never do an elevator. So just an FYI on that. I will take planes. I'm not comfortable with planes, but at least if I'm sitting out looking at the window, I don't feel so claustrophobic. So just an FYI on that. Another thing, I'm a very fussy eater. I really don't eat meat, not at all. I don't like potatoes, but I do love pizza. I think pizza is like the best food that's out there, and pasta, but especially pizza with mushrooms, red sauce. Oh, gotta love it, extra crispy. One of my faves. I do have a very bad sweet tooth, another big one of my faves, so FYI on that. So just trying to think what else I like to do. I like to work with kids, and I love to work with kids that have disabilities. I think that it's really important, and adults as well, that we give back to the universe. Whether it's just showing up, sitting down, coloring, talking, it doesn't really matter. You know, let's give back to the universe. And that's what it's all about. My personal belief is that we're here to manage our emotions, have a great experience, try to be the best that we can be, and sometimes you get challenges, right? But also it's to lift other people up and animals as well. So love all those. Oh, and finally, I do love to go to zoos, and I love to go to farms. I love to pet animals. Just, that's one of my biggest favorite things. So in any event, oh, and I do love to go to comedy shows too. Gotta love it. I love to watch comedy. Laughter is one of the best healing medicines that are out there. So just an FYI in that. But in any event, I hope that gives you a little bit more insight about me. Oh, and yes, I've always used my psychic abilities. And sometimes I will say, people say, can you turn it on? Can you turn it off? You do get bleed throughs. There are many instances where I may be going out to get gas, or I might be driving or going to get groceries, and I'll have a visitor, or they come in my dreams, or I see visions. Like I see visions like television screens. So, you know, I might see past, present, or future. Sometimes, you know, you can ignore it. Sometimes they're pretty persistent, but it's all good. But in any event, hope that gives you a little bit of, maybe a little bit more insight about who I am. So have a blessed day.